Dumbfounded at what goes on here. The corruption drips off the walls in this place. It's crazy.
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers.
I want the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
That's what the left-wing media wants you to think. You can't handle the truth. But I'll always give you the unvarnished truth of the corruption, media bias, and downright lies you are being told by Albany today. I'm New York State Assemblyman David DiPietro. Some say I'm the conscience of Albany because I believe you, the citizens of New York, need to know the truth. Welcome to the Truth in Politics podcast and to this week's show. Welcome back, everybody. It's Dave DiPietro, New York State Assemblyman, and what a show we have for you today. I am so excited. I have a good friend of mine, Pastor Al Robinson from LoveJoy here in Buffalo, New York. And if you want to hear someone that's got passion but tells the truth, you're going to love this show because he exposes it just like I do. And it's my honor to have him here and talk about a lot of the things that he is famous for. This man is an icon in Buffalo. And first, let me bring him on because I want to get right into it. Al, welcome to the show. Great to have you, my friend.
It's always a pleasure to be with you, David. Always.
So, folks, I got to tell you, Al Robinson here. This is the gentleman during the big storm over a year or so ago at Christmas time in Buffalo, New York. His church went out in the neighborhood. They were ground zero of that huge storm where 44 or 50 people, they say, died. And we'll get into that because that's a real low number. They didn't tell you the truth about that. It was a lot more. But Al motivated his church and mobilized it. And they went out into their community, foot by foot, snowmobiles, whatever they could get through the snow with. And they rescued over 154 people, brought them to the church, and literally saved them. While they were out, they found a lot of dead people. That's how bad this storm was. They found and rescued a lot of dead people. And God bless Al, because if he didn't get motivated and have his church and his volunteers go do that, there would have been dozens more of our citizens dead. And one reason I say that is because this is America. This is what people do in our country. They don't rely on the government for everything. Okay, you can sit in your house and call 911 and hope that somebody shows up to rescue you, and then you die while you have your oven on trying to get warm. And imagine if we had all electric and you didn't have those gas ovens, which hundreds and hundreds of people use to keep warm and to keep from dying. And if the liberals had their way and we were all electric, there would have been hundreds. And that's not from me, folks. That is from the city of Buffalo. The people I talked to in the state said those are statistics. Hundreds more people would have died if we would have been all electric. And that's a travesty. That'll tell you right there, tells you that that's a horrible policy. I don't care how far left you are and you think that's your religion. But Al saved 154 people and a lot more because they went out and did what Americans do. Al, talk about that a minute. That is still one of the greatest stories in Western New York history, what you did and how you did it and the lies you say, but not just that, but the tragedy of all the people you found dead. So to give us some story on that.
It was quite the experience. My wife and I, we were going to have just a Netflix night. We knew that the storm was coming, and then the electricity dropped. And when you cut the electricity off to the entire southeastern quadrant of Buffalo, which is Lovejoy, the Lower East Side, those areas, parts of Kaisertown, Sloan, when you shut down the electricity there during a cyclogenesis or bombogenesis, which is what happened. It's a meteorological phenomenon where the temperature just plummets, pressure increases, wind speeds fly. Right. And we were dealing with wind speeds it's whiteout. No matter where you were, it was all whiteout. Mm-hmm. And people started getting cold. And, my wife and I started checking on people. And they're saying, listen, that the temperature in our house, it was 72. Now it's 48 degrees and dropping. We're inside of our kitchens, all balled up with our stoves running. And some people didn't.
Gas stoves running.
Gas stoves. Literal gas stoves.
There was no electric.
No electric. The very thing they want to get rid of that saved those people's lives is the very thing that sustained their lives during that time.
That's right.
So we set up a team, me and a good friend of mine, Bill Kless, we set up a team of lead sleds that would be able to dispatch to the addresses that we got on Facebook. And so systematically, we went from one address to the next, to the next, to the next. And literally, we had 200 addresses that we had to get to. Sadly, we couldn't get to all of them on time. Although we may have made it there, some people didn't make it. And some people were in the homes deceased. Some people were in homes deceased because they were picked up by good Samaritans. They carried them into their house thinking that they could revise them, that they passed out in the snow, but they were actually dead already. And they stayed in these houses for quite some time, days. And, if it weren't for some really good friends at C District, who knows what would have happened. But the guys at C District went down there and scooped up these bodies, and they were fantastic. C District was. But that entire debacle that happened, I believe could have been prevented had people understood the level of just the best way for me to say this, if they knew how horrific this would have really been, I think that they would have prepared a little bit better. I'm not saying that it wasn't told out there, but people had the idea that they had last minute shopping. It was okay as long as they hurry up and get back to the house. But when that electricity dropped on Christmas Eve, when it dropped on Christmas Eve and we started getting the phone calls from 9 p.m. all the way till the next morning, it was frightening. It was so frightening. And a lot of people, they just didn't make it. And they talk about the death count being 47, I believe was the last number. And I strongly believe that number is lowballed. I think that number is much, 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 much lower than what we had seen out there. Because I was boots on the ground. And me and my church have one motto, and it's to bear ye one another's burdens. It's in the Bible, Galatians 6:2. Bear ye one another's burdens. And so if you are burdened, then that's my burden. And if you're hungry, then I'm hungry. And if you're not safe, I'm not safe. And so the job is to help someone bear that. And that's exactly what we did. My wife and I, all started with her. My wife and I went out there and we got those that were freezing to death, and we brought them back to the church, and they got to spend up to 6 nights with us.
That's amazing. And, when you talked about the death count, and I said this right from the beginning, literally a week later, a couple nights into this, right before it ended, I was making phone calls, and I was receiving phone calls from some people who were, in the city or in the county, and they were saying, Dave, are you listening to this? It's a lie. It's not right. It's wrong. And I was like, what are you talking about? First because it was the death counts. I was told that after the first night, the Erie County morgue and the county morgue were full. They were done. The bodies were piled up. And then the next day, Buff General, their morgue was done. And around the county, these places. So the death count was more than 47. I'm told it was more in the 200 range. But again, no one can confirm that now because I don't know. I have my own theories. Obviously, I don't think the county or anybody wanted to give an accurate number, because I think a lot of people would have panicked when they realized the severity of what was happening. 1 or 2 people die in a tornado and people don't blink an eye. 20, 30 die in a disaster. That's one thing. 47, that's a lot. But man, when you start saying 100 or 200 or whatever, when you get numbers like that starts getting people really upset. And I mean, they start paying attention more. And that's, when we saw those numbers, and you saw it, Al, when you were out there in that blizzard, and you said there were bodies piled up in those mobile that weren't even, I don't even know if they were even counted, because they weren't part of, say, the county morgue system or the
mobile morgues.
Right. So, yeah. You saw it.
Yeah, it was definitely a learning experience. I'm not a politically savvy individual because of my views, but when I saw, that these 2 mobile morgues of 20 people and 1 mobile morgue of 40 were filled with bodies, along with ECMC and the Buffalo General Hospital, and that, I mean, just simple mathematics tells you that that we have a problem and a discrepancy. So why they would pivot to a low number like that is curious to me. But it's happening as well in the overdose communities. I mean, it's something that we're seeing right now in real time in Erie County, that we are making every effort to fix, every effort, and anyone that will listen to us, we're passionate about saving these lives.
Well, that's the next thing I want to talk to you about, because you're a leader, you're a mover and shaker, and you've been on the forefront of this fentanyl overdose and being proactive. You don't go out there and talk about it. You're doing something about it, and you've got a program which is just phenomenal. It's called Sober Living Village, and you build these tiny homes. And I want you to talk about how that's actually working in the community, saving people on these drug overdoses. That's been your passion. And I just take it from there, because you've got some interesting stories, and then a political end to it, which just blows me away. So Al, tell us what that program is.
Okay, so I work with a wonderful woman. Her name is Cheryl Moore, and she and Barbara Burns. These two are juggernauts in the field of preventative maintenance to stop addiction.
Mm-hmm.
They have equipped our church with. We have a Sharps container outside of our church. We have fentanyl strips that test cocaine for fentanyl at our facility. We also have Narcan freely dispersed to the neighborhood. We literally go through a case of Narcan a week from our church. A week, David, a week. And Zachary Kay and Cheryl Moore have been, whenever I call them, they're always there to deliver and to help and to assist. And I just owe such a absolute gratitude to Cheryl Moore, who I believe has since then retired. So I don't know if she'll ever hear this, but that woman she is God sent. She's a wonderful woman. But we've had a prognosticated 407 deaths in 2023 from overdoses. Now, these overdoses aren't what they were in 2015 when we first got on board with battling this. These overdoses are cocaine and fentanyl. A dude blowing a line isn't expecting to die. He's blowing a line. It's a social drug. And I do not condone drugs at all, but let's just be honest. Cocaine has been a social drug for who knows, my entire life that I've seen. So people aren't expecting to die. And now I believe over 75% of all deaths are laced with fentanyl in cocaine. Then we have a xylazine problem. They call it the zombie drug, where necrosis and scabs and stuff all over people. We've had, I believe, 13 to 16 deaths because of fentanyl mixed with that, and fentanyl mixed with weed. You can't even, again, not that I condone it, but I mean, it's a recreationally legal drug to have in small quantities, and people are dying. And so we have a problem. We have a very serious problem in the city of Buffalo, because normally it would have been the suburbs saturating with all the overdoses, starting in Lancaster, going out to Hamburg, Depew. I have a good friend over there, Gwendolyn Bork, over there in Depew and Hamburg, and she is a juggernaut at trying to stop these children from overdosing as well. But now the city of Buffalo is got the largest amount of overdoses. And that's happening in my district, in my in C district in Buffalo. It's very discouraging. You see, back in the 80s, we had a crack epidemic, and people that looked like me, shouldn't have done it. You shouldn't have done drugs. You knew that this was going to happen. You made the choice. That's your problem. And that's how it was handled back then. It's shamelessly, but it was handled like that. Now, cruise up to 2020, and we have this fentanyl overdoses hitting the non-Black communities. And this isn't about color. Please make no mistake. This has nothing to do with colors, but it does have something to do with a grotesque disparity now. because we've been able to drive overdoses in the white community down 12.72% since 2018. Drive it down since 2018. And sadly, Black overdoses in the same time in some very prominent people's districts have more than tripled. The Black overdoses, although we're 14% of the population here in Buffalo, we account for 32% of all overdoses now. And it's crazy because in 2018, only 10% of the Black community were found to have overdosed from fentanyl. Now 32% in 2023 have overdosed. And at the same time, David, you know, I've been campaigning, trying to get money together so that we can go out and fix this problem. And everybody just seems to kick the can down the street and say, talk to this person, talk to this person. And finally, I'm at a point right now where people are saying, not in my neighborhood. I do not want this in my neighborhood. I had a meeting with a councilwoman. Absolute respect for the councilwoman. I understand the problems that they're dealing with. But sadly, you know, she told me that people that look like me came in there and sold an idea to her community, and that idea never happened. They didn't help any of the Black folks. And as a matter of fact, they bust in people from all over the place that weren't even a part of that community. And so, you know, I get the hurdles there. I get the hurdles there. But I am passionate. And finally, I ended the conversation with her. I said, what is your body count?
Yep.
How many bodies are necessary before we do something about Black people, indigenous Indian people, which is even higher, and Hispanic people dropping dead from overdoses right now in the city of Buffalo, in your district? What are we going to do about that? And so I've hurdle after hurdle after hurdle. And I mean, I get it. You know, I'm not.
But you got kicked out, Al.
Yeah, I'm a small company.
Okay, you went into an assemblywoman's district in Buffalo. And she ended up, and you were like, I'm going to help you. Here's what I need. I can help you with this. This is you're the number one district in Western New York of all these deaths. And, you know, so you would think if someone came to me, I'd be like, okay, what do we do? Oh my gosh, anything we can do to reduce, because as we always hear, one life, and it's worth it, right? If we can save one life. And you went in and said, with your program, and said, I think we can really drop these numbers. I think there are things we can do. And what I love is you're coming in, you're doing it because you're already doing it on your own. You didn't say we need a government program.
No,
I don't need the government to come in. You did it on your own, and you got kicked out of that woman's assembly office. Tell them that. Well,
I get it. I'm a passionate person. I get it. I'm a passionate person. You know, my mother, she had an addiction problem, and, you know, it set me on my trajectory, right? And then in LoveJoy, where we saw all kinds of overdosing, we dropped that overdose number right down in 2019. We were doing magnificent. Then the pandemic hits, and then all this other stuff hits. I think that their policies have an iatrogenic effect on these communities, and I don't think that they anticipate that their policies will have these deleterious effects on these communities. I think that they think that, you know, we'll continue on as we have been continuing on. And this not in my backyard thing makes no sense to me, because in your backyard, they're already dying. So I'm giving you a solution to install in your backyard, and you're saying not in my backyard. You already have a drug problem in your backyard. You already got drug dealers selling drugs. You already got kids living with their grandparents doing drugs. You already have all this stuff in your neighborhood. I'm coming with a novel approach to solve these problems. So why not just give me the chance? Let me solve the problems like we've done already in LoveJoy. And I was told that trauma that people went through will dictate the behaviors of these people in power, as opposed to the objective facts, the objective truth about what's happening. We're losing a day. For every one day that we are living and breathing, one more person in Erie County is dying. So 1+ people are dying every day in Erie County. And I'm going to put a stop to it. Make no mistake about it. I'm going to put with or without their help. I've been doing just fine, but I'm asking for help. And, you know, we're setting up Buffalo's first sober living tiny home village. Byron, Mayor Brown was over the moon about this. He loves the idea that we're coming in here proactively saving lives. You know, my wife and I sold our belongings so that we could start all this stuff that we can go out here and do this. We didn't ask for handouts, until we're able to get that, right? And so now the biggest problem we have is that we have 5 homes being built right now, and I have no place to put them. No place to put them.
Which, Al, you got the mayor of the city of Buffalo.
Fantastic.
Behind this program, it says, thank you, Al. This is what we need. We need to do what we can to save some of these people. And yet,
Mayor Brown he is all for the helping out the Lower East Side. This man this guy's he's a true trooper, and I'm being blocked everywhere I turn, and he can't make unilateral decisions about this stuff. It's got to go through due process. I have to go through the right channels, but I go to the channel and I just get stopped. This meeting is over. Was the last meeting that I attended to. I don't want to talk to you anymore, Mr. Robinson.
Well, tell us who said that. Come on, there's no time to be sugarcoating this. When people are dying, it was Crystal Peoples-Stokes, correct?
No, it was actually her
her assistant.
Yes, her
assistant.
Office,
but her assistant.
Yeah, her assistant, who's now a councilwoman, Leah Pope,
and is taking her spot in the assembly. Correct?
She's a majority leader in the Common Council here in Buffalo.
Yeah.
You
got the mayor on board, and you got a councilwoman who says, "Get out of my office."
Yeah, she didn't like. She said I was aggressive, right? And I don't want to be interpreted as aggressive. I don't want someone to confuse my passion with being aggressive. But when at the end of the day, when I wake up the next day, someone else died. That's the timetable I'm on right now. Right. Someone else will die tonight while nothing is happening. And that burns me more than I can tell you. And it's not her fault. It's not her fault. And I'll go as far to say as much as the people that sought solutions with her before me didn't give wholeheartedly these solutions. And now it puts a bad taste in people's mouths about addiction recovery and facilities like my own, where we're going to set up a sober living village. Listen, David, these houses are so technologically advanced to cause neuroplastic change in women's brains, just like a recovering stroke victim, that our recidivism rate is ridiculously low. It's ridiculously low. The gardens that will be around these are called therapeutic gardens. And they use novel methods in grounding our girls to the earth and to the scents, the smells, the textures, things that women respond to. There's something called an HPA axis response, or a hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis response, that causes recidivism. They go into fight or flight and they want to use drugs, but we're building an entire environ that battles that. I mean, it's incredible. The environment itself aids that person in their recovery. And our girls are more sober than the people that the village is being built in. They're more sober than, they don't smoke, they don't drink, they don't do any of these things. They're far more sober than the people that live there. And the houses are technological marvels. And I was told,
and you can't, and bottom line, Al, is, people are going to ask, does it work? And yours works.
And I have
you get kicked out of offices.
I got the research papers to
you
prove.
Bring in results, and people don't want results. They want something political for it. And I see this all the time in Albany on the far left. That's all it is. It's all who can wash each other's hands. It's not about whether the program is good or not. It's what they get out of it for themselves.
Well, the only thing I see that they're getting out of it is a threefold increase in Black overdose deaths. Black people are dying at a rate right now 3 times greater than what they were in 2018. That's just the facts. So however you have to politicize that, whatever feather in your cap you get as a result of that, I'd like to think that that's not true, but I can't. This is a humanitarian and egalitarian issue that needs to be resolved today, not, after long talks. And do you got
a chart on that or something?
I do. So he's going to bring up 2012 to 2013 overdose deaths, the updates as of 2000 right now. And if you look at this, the case and demographic updates from the brilliant mind of Cheryl and Dr. Gail Bernstein, these people are brilliant minds, and they're out here to eradicate addiction. Look at this. Deaths of black person from 10% to 32%. Deaths of white people at the same time. This is reminiscent of the crap epidemic. Deaths of white people went from 79 to 65. That's 12.72% down. Deaths of 20 to 29-year-old people down. Deaths of people between 50 and 59, or the cocaine crowd, the social drug crowd. Look at that increase. Look at the increase of people that are over 60. These are real numbers. These are real issues. You know, in the district that I went to open up the Sober Living Village, all this vacant land over there, to open up this they have an old folks home who I'm certain are being affected by that. Now look at this chart right here. This chart right here shows you all the numbers. They're out there as of February of this year. Look at that. We have Native Americans, increase. Black Americans, increase. Hispanic Americans, increase. White Americans, down. Down. Minorities, up. Now, I'm not pro anything. I don't want any deaths. I don't want white people dying. I don't want black people, Indians, Asians. I don't want any of these people dying. And I'm going to see to it that I'm going to get in there and I'm going to solve this problem. By the grace of God, I'm going to solve this problem. Mark my words. But looking at this stuff right now, look at this chart right here. This chart is devastating. It shows the trajectory that we are going to right now. Look at that.
It's going crazy up.
That is nuts. There's only 365 days in a year. And this is, for what I know, is the last number, 407 bodies. 407. Still no sober living village, pouring money into antiquated systems that have 90% recidivism rates, which means that the person goes back to using drugs. That's right. 90% of the time, right? When we're offering neuroplastic methods, changing someone's brain. This is neuroscientifically proven.
Al, you got this.
The man says in his heart, so is he. We just want them to live and have life more abundantly.
Al, you've got 5 homes out already, correct? It's not like you're asking or begging for something. You're already showing this. You've done it yourself. Yes. You're looking for places to put them. You're not asking for money, even though money is great because you want to build more.
That's correct.
You're saying, look, we want to put these, just give us a neighborhood we can put one of these so that we can show you it works. And let us, again, you're not asking for the government to run this. You're asking, you can do it, a private citizen, the American way. We're going to work on this problem because we know that it's the American ingenuity that's going to take this. Government always fails. And that's what you're saying. With those programs that are out there, government run, 90% recidivism rate, doesn't work. They keep failing, but they keep taking the money. Okay, the definition of insanity. And you've got one that's working, and you're just saying, look, let us keep going forward and help us out. Help us out. That's all you're asking. And you're getting kicked out of offices. I don't get it.
I don't either.
I'm just, because when you're talking about the black and brown and the Hispanic, the communities, half the people are for you. You've got the mayor of the city of Buffalo says you're doing great. And now he's got a battle with an assemblywoman in his own city, in the exact same district, who kicks you out of the office. Come on, what's going on here? This is ridiculous. It's called, I say it all the time, but there's just too much corruption going on here. There's too many people that are just don't want to change the status quo because they derive their living from it. And if it doesn't affect them, they don't care about anybody else. And it's sickening.
To be clear, it was Leah Pope, Councilwoman Leah Pope, whom I have great respect for.
Sure.
She did end our interview because it was
because you were passionate.
I don't even know what to say. I honestly don't. David, I don't know what to say. All I know is that I have a problem, and I see light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm trying to get these people so that they do not die in my neighborhood. You can just Google the name Al Robinson Buffalo, and you could see everything that the Lord has done. Not me, I'm just a servant, but everything that the Lord has done to combat these things. Literally pages and pages and pages. And we just want people to live. That's it. I just don't want any more people to die. White, black, Asian, indigenous, Indian, whomever. I mean, I get more conversation out of different counties than I do, our own council people here. And all this vacant property, I'm just asking for a chance, a shot. Just give me a shot. We use facial recognition. We use the latest cutting edge technology. Drug dealers, they don't like us. We have a task force just for them, because who wants a drug dealer in their neighborhood? Who? Let me see a show of hands. Nobody, right? They do nothing but bring disease, poison, and these social viruses with them. We don't want them around here. Go somewhere else. Because if you come into this neighborhood, we got a little something for you. We got a nice little task force that will come in, give you a nice 5 a.m. wake up call, and tell you what's really happening, what's really good. We just want the chance to save lives. We just want people to live. Being a pastor, we have to have ceremonies to bury people that have overdosed. One year, Vivian and I think we had like 8 or 9 of them.
In your own church?
Yes. And it was just, it's terrifically awful. We need to save these people's lives. I'm not in all this political nonsense, right? What's right is right. What's wrong is what's wrong. Let's do what's right and solve this problem together, right? And sadly, you have to ask for money. I have to ask for money, and I have to go to the right people to get the money. But I can see all these other places that are being funded, studies on quails and studies on some other nonsense over here and there. But when it comes to these black people overdosing, not a doggone nickel have I been given from anyone that I went to ask for outside of Erie County. Right. And again, Erie County Department of Health is magnificent. As a matter of fact, they are cutting edge, leading the nation in all of this, leading the nation with their data in all of this. We were the only ones that were able to drop our numbers from where they were. If you look at these charts, from where they were in 2016, go down to 2019, see how we plummeted that number, almost halved it. And that was grassroots, boots on the ground, out there getting it done, people, not people that are in some room somewhere having conversations about what they'd like to see happen. We were getting results then. And that's what we're looking for right now. We want results. And I just don't, I'm fatigued with conversations. Conversations are great and everything, but if they result in something, but if they don't result in anything other than more frustration, I shouldn't have a problem asking someone, hey, listen, can you help me save your daughter's lives? Can you help me save your daughter's friends' school lives? Is that okay that they can live? It doesn't seem like it's a no-brainer. Yes, let's do what we can. What can we do to help you? Nope.
I don't get it, Al, but I do because I work with these people up in Albany every day. And I've watched it. I've watched them turn their backs. I've watched them enact laws, and they're passionate about it. It's their religion. Okay. I've watched them enact laws that help criminals, so that you can't even raise the age from 16 to 18 to 19. Now they want to go to 24 or 26 years old. So you're just not guilty. They don't believe anyone's guilty of anything. They don't believe anyone's done anything wrong. They want to let you do whatever you want. And when innocent people get hurt, they just turn their head and go, that's just part of the process. Okay. I've watched this day after day, year after year. And then someone like you comes along, not only a mover and a shaker, but the fact that you've got results, you're saving people, and they're not listening to you. Some are. And I give Mayor Byron Brown credit. Okay.
Yes, so do I.
I give the mayor a lot of credit.
Cheryl Moore, Barbara Burns.
And he's done a great job. But these other people that are just turning their backs on you is just, I don't get it. But I do, because, politics being what it is, a very messy business, and people looking out for themselves. And
but it's only hurting my community. It's only hurting people like me.
Well, that's the dichotomy. That's what makes it so crazy.
I'm on the east side of Buffalo. You look like me. Listen to this. The number one cause of death for someone that looks like me between the ages of 12 and 49 in Buffalo is homicide. It's homicide. Do you know that it's, David? It'll blow your mind that the numbers I have. There is a small faction of the United States of America, a super small faction, that's responsible for 50% of all homicides. Do you know that 18% of men are responsible for over 75% of fatherless homes? Did you know that? Did you know that black women, and I'm not pro-black, pro-white or anything, but these are just facts. Although they're just 6% of the population, account for 41% of all abortions, Margaret Sanger was right when she said, we don't want them knowing that they're being exterminated.
They praise Margaret Sanger up in the Assembly and the Senate. They praise her. They praise her. They have a day for her. It doesn't make any sense, but they have a day for her.
I honestly, I don't get it, but we're going backwards as a people. We're going backwards as a city. We're going backwards as a conglomeration of citizens that want to do what's right by our people. We cannot go backwards. We cannot give up ground we've made. And if you look at that 219 number, that's serious ground made. Now we're more than double that now. You know, the question really is that before, how many more bodies are required before you say, hey, guess what? There's this pastor out there in LoveJoy, you know, the guy's loud and he's pretty passionate. Seems like he's out there doing the right thing. Let's give him a shot. Let's see what he's all about. Right? Not a chance, bro. You know, the Erie County is fantastic. They're the ones that are helping me build this sober living village. But outside of that, state help, any kind of help like that, forget about it. I've literally asked. I have emails and all kinds of things. I've got track records just saying, please help me help others. Please. Groveling almost. Nothing. So I'm done with all of that.
But Al, you need like a drop in the bucket, okay? But yet we're going to cover the Kensington for $2 billion. We're going to cover that Kensington. I mean, for $2 billion, imagine, you know, and I look at that, and I just shake my head. I mean, it's the money they're going to put into that, and there's no argument anymore. They don't want to hear anything. We're going to do it, and I hope that saves somebody. But I can tell you right now, by covering the expressway, I don't think you're going to save. This isn't going to be a factor in saving lives, and it's a shame because.
Worse yet, David, look at this influx of like 9.6 million people coming into the United States. Coming in through our back windows, our back doors, sneaking underground instead of coming in through the front door, like every respectable person that has been made it into this country, coming through the front door, which you know is admirable. You're going through it. I know a lot of people that have come through the front door. I have nothing but, and they're successful. They're bringing their ideas, their energy, their potential to the United States. We like that. But now we're giving out gift cards, 10 grand gift cards for illegals. We don't even know if that's their real doggone name for that matter. But a mother who's downstairs washing her dishes, she hears a thud on the upstairs desk in her child's bedroom of their child overdosing. They can't get a nickel. We can't do anything about that. We can't do anything about the torn hearts, the disrupted families, the broken social fabric. We can't do anything about that, but we can pay, you know, for all these guys. We don't have any problem with that. They raised our taxes nearly $2 billion here in New York. That's a lot of money that we got to pay taxes on to pay for things that are not our veterans, are not our young children dealing with all kinds of mental duress and problems. The money should go towards these more important things like Americans dying. That to me is important. Okay. So I don't want to get involved in the politics on that, but that's just the truth of it. And someone's going to make it a political thing. But at the end of the day, I stand on this side. I stand on the side of righteousness. I stand on the side of bearing one another's burdens. If your son has a problem and I have the solution, I had better get up and help your son. That's just that.
Amen.
That's just that. It's just that simple to me. Life and life more abundantly. You know, I get all fired up, David, over this.
That's why we love you, Al. That's why we love you, because you're right. Because you're right, Al. Because you stand up and you fight for what's right. And you don't let the politics get in the way. And you don't let the color of the skin get in the way.
That's right.
You're there to help people and save lives. And you just want some people to stand with you and help you. That's all. and you're right. So don't ever apologize for being right and being passionate. And I'm sorry, some people, I get passionate, and some people hate it. Some people hate that. They don't, oh, please tone it down. But as you know, Al, if you're not fighting for something today, you're losing. If you're not out there taking on just the death and destruction and the bad policies and the overturning of everything that's good in this country, if you're not out there fighting for it, you're part of the problem. You've got to stand up today. You've got to stand up and be, I do, and you do. You stand up and say, look, I'm going to take the arrows in my back and I'm going to take the hits. But at the end of the day, it's because I'm passionate, because I believe in it, and I know that it's right. I'm sorry. You're never apologize. Never apologize. Always go forward, Al. I wish more people would listen to you and get out there off their butt and help you, because one day, one life is too many. And I just want to say, as we wrap this up, I appreciate all you do. I love the fact, not just your passion, but the fact that you stand with God and you stand with what's right, and you preach it, and you want others to believe it and follow you because it's the right thing to do and it saves people. And that's the whole key. And I just get so upset when you tell stories about how people kick you out of their office or don't want to listen to you, and just for stupid reasons, for their own self-gratification, for their own moral injustice. I don't know what the name is, but because it's politics and greed and you name it, it's all out there. And instead of common sense and actually saying, you know what, I understand this problem and I'll take your help. Even if I can't give you any money, I'm going to support you. That upsets me. So,
we do have some good councilmen out there, like Brian.
Yes, of course we do.
Yeah,
we got a lot of them.
He's out there with me. He literally, he's out there in LoveJoy with me, and we are all over LoveJoy trying to fix this. But it still remains that we have a 233% increase in indigenous Indians dying from overdoses.
That's right.
We have a 220 increase in Black Americans in Buffalo dying of overdoses, while at the same time, white overdoses went down nearly 13%. Mm-hmm. That's a problem. That's a disparity. There's no way to sugarcoat that. We can't dance around the numbers. We can't, say ohms and hope it goes away. It just doesn't work like that. Boots on the ground. Action happens right now. You can't wish it away. You can't hope it away. You have to work it away. You got to fund it away.
Yeah. And I love the way you say it, because this has nothing to do with color or politics. Those are some facts. And what you're saying is, I can help it. I can help alleviate that. And you just need a little help. But you've got one of the solutions. You've proven it. It's not like you're coming out with a theory and saying, you know what, if we do this, maybe. You've already done it. You've got the boots on the ground. You've got the numbers that say it works. And now you just need a few people to stand behind you that can help work it. And I applaud you for that. So I want to just say we got to wrap it up. Al, always a pleasure, my friend, bringing you on, and anything you need, we'll get you on again. I'm sure people, when they hear this story, are going to be motivated, and that's what we hope we can do. So God bless you. Keep preaching the word, Al.
Thank you for letting me share the gospel. I really appreciate it. Bear ye one another's burdens.
Oh my gosh. God is great. And Jesus is our Savior.
That's right. That's right, baby. So, you know what? God bless you, Al. I want to thank you for coming on. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks for watching today. This is The Truth in Politics. You hear it here first, folks. We don't sugarcoat anything. We don't care what the subject is. We're going to tell you the truth, because I believe that you will understand the truth and can make your own decisions. You don't need the government to tell you what to think, do, or feel. You do it yourself. You know, you're smart enough to understand this. Don't ever let anybody in the government tell you, hi, I'm here to help from the government. We can do it ourselves. You just stay out of our way. So God bless you, Al. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll see you next week.
You have been watching Truth in Politics with New York Assemblyman David DiPietro. Search for DiPietro for you and tune in every week on Facebook, Rumble, Twitter, YouTube, and many other internet platforms, including the Big Whack Radio Internet Podcast. Thank you for listening.